Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, AARP Wisconsin, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.
Thomas Harland of Kenosha is a Constitution Party candidate for the 64th Assembly District. Thomas, welcome to WisconsinEye.
Great to be here.
You say a factor in why you chose to run is, quote, the district had no choice but send a Democrat to Madison. Explain.
Correct. On the ballot for the past 8 years, we've had no option but Peter Barca. There's been no challenger to him, and I'm here to give that option, to give that conservative option here on the ballot.
Mr. Barca is a Democrat. Why aren't you a Republican? You are running as a Constitution Party member. Why?
Correct. I chose to run as a member of the Constitution Party over being running on the Republican ticket because there's so much animosity between those two parties. I want to be able to talk to everyone. I want to be able to talk to Democrats and talk to Republicans, talk to everyone, and be able to solve the issues and make it best for my constituents. I don't want to be constrained by that's a Democrat, I can't talk to him, or that's a Republican, I can't talk to him. I want to be able to have those relationships and be able to communicate freely.
As you talk to voters in your district, what do they tell you are their top 1 or 2 issues?
A lot of people are very worried about education. They want to continue to see that there is the freedom for them to educate their children, their grandchildren, the way that they want to, and to be able to have that opportunity to move from one school to another, or to a private school or an online school or even homeschool. They want to continue to have that freedom and make those decisions for the education of their children. They're also really worried about transportation. They look out their front door and they see the roads that are crumbling in front of them, and they want to know that the taxes that they're paying are being put to good use, and that those the basic necessities of government that we're providing for their needs.
There's an impasse in the Capitol, as you know, over how we pay for those highways. Wave a wand. How would you solve them?
There's no way that I would raise taxes to pay for it by any means. I think we pay enough in taxes as it is. We need to reallocate some of the funding that we currently have. I think that we also need to invest in other types of transportation. Yes, we have roads, but we also need to look at rail. We also need to look at investing more in bicycle infrastructure and moving people onto different transportation options.
So you would not raise the gas tax. You would not raise the vehicle registration fee.
No.
What about debate in the Capitol on tolling?
I would not do tolling. It's far too restrictive on where if I want to go from A to B, I don't want to have to go to C to make that point work. We have the funding available. We just need to make sure it is allocated correctly.
The current state budget included more than $600 million additional for our K-12 public schools. Do you think our K-12 public schools are underfunded and need even another large increase in the next budget? Or you talked earlier about choice. So your position on both the voucher system choice and public school funding?
Correct. I think that I am a fan of the voucher system. I think we need to continue to pursue that. Wisconsin does invest more in our education system on average than most states, as well as many other countries, yet we still see our students failing to be able to read and write. I think really what it comes down to is giving those teachers the ability to educate our kids. Not everyone learns in the same manner. We need to identify how that child learns best and pursue that opportunity. We've given so much control and responsibility to those in Madison, and it has handcuffed our teachers from really being able to educate these students.
Do you believe our public school system is underfunded?
I do not think that it is underfunded at this point.
Okay. The debate in the Capitol over whether we need a new prison, 2 of our prisons were built in the 1800s. Some Democrats say we could reduce our inmate population by half over a number of years. Where are you on that? Do we need a new state prison?
I do not think we need a new state prison at this point. I do think that we can look at reducing our population. I think there are priorities that we need to take care of at this point, be it the infrastructure, and continue to make sure that we are funding our schools and ensuring that we have safe water to drink, ensuring that those basic necessities are provided for and funded. I think that a new prison, yes, that is important, but not nearly as important as other items.
We're a few miles away from the proposed Foxconn campus.
Correct.
Would you have voted for that package of tax breaks and tax benefits for Foxconn?
I would not have.
Why?
I do not believe that our government should be picking the winners and choosers of the economy. They shouldn't be identifying a single company to be successful. If that company has the correct people and the correct business model, they're going to be successful. They don't need to be handpicked by legislators and representatives in the government to receive additional tax breaks. I think there's other things that we can do within the government to make it a pro-business, by having great infrastructure to be able to move goods and people around the state, to be able to have good human resource laws to make sure that we aren't punishing businesses too much, to ensure that they're taking care of their employees, to not have too restrictive of benefit proposals. We need to give the businesses those opportunities to be successful. We don't need to pick 1 or 2 companies to win.
Local governments live with levy limits to control property taxes. Some local government leaders say that's hurting their ability to provide local services. Levy limits, keep them, loosen them, do away with them.
I would loosen them at this point. I do think that we need to bring government back to the community. The government in Kenosha is going to operate differently than it is in Green Bay. The government leaders need to be able to make those decisions, and if it means changing around the finances specifically for that city or that area, I'm in favor of that. And again, moving that back from Madison back to the local communities is important.
As you meet residents of the 64th District, what are they telling you are their biggest concerns on health care?
Healthcare, obviously, everyone wants to ensure that when they need that healthcare, that it's going to be there. They also want to make sure that it's not too punitive to pay for it. I think that we need to implement the free market principles. We do not need to continue to make healthcare a government-run program. It'll only continue to raise the price both of the service and of the insurance. I think that we need to bring it back, and I think we need to have those conversations about preventative health care, as well as I think it would do a great service for these healthcare providers, these insurance providers, to post a menu board option so that customers and individuals know what they're purchasing, they know what they're getting into, and can make those decisions that are most applicable to their family.
If we went back to the private healthcare system that you just said you favor, would that hurt the rural areas where there's fewer medical providers, Thomas?
I don't believe so. I think that you are going to have the market is always going to be met. I think forcing healthcare providers into a specific area is not going to be beneficial. It's going to raise the price and the impact, the stress of the health system, just to ensure that there's multiple options out there. If there's a healthcare option out there in that rural area, I think that that community's need is met. And if there isn't, someone is going to meet that need in that free market.
As you campaign, have you heard from hospital officials and medical professionals that Wisconsin's Medicaid reimbursement rates are low and potentially at a tipping point that would hurt healthcare provided to our MA patients. Has that come up? Do you agree that we could be at a tipping point?
It is. It's definitely something that needs to be brought into the conversation at this point. We need to, if we are going to pay for those services, we have to make sure that we are paying for the full service to provide that proper health care and not push it on to the hidden tax of the other consumers by raising the other rates to cover the cost.
Cost shifting.
Correct.
The pilot program between state government and Delta Dental that provides dental care to low income in regional clinics. Are you aware of that? Should it remain a priority in our next Medicaid budget?
I think that it's a good program. I think that we need to continue to look at programs like that, but you know, we're also on a diet. We need to ensure that we are spending our resources wisely, and if that is a program that is cut, then I would be in favor of that.
As you campaign, have you heard anything from caregivers, their concerns? AARP estimates that 578,000 Wisconsin residents are caregivers for family members or neighbors, potentially. Would you support laws or rules that require hospitals to recognize and work with family caregivers when someone they love is hospitalized? Has this issue come up?
It has not come up.
It has not. Okay.
But I would be in favor of the hospitals ensuring that it's all about the care of the patient. We want to make sure that the patient is being cared for properly and that both parties are communicating properly to ensure that the healthcare needs are met of that individual.
UW system budget. Should we continue the freeze on resident undergraduate tuition for a 7th and 8th year?
I think that freeze is a good thing, continuing to provide those educational opportunities. Again, it's going back to the free market. We need to be able to compete with private education systems, and if that means that we have to raise it to you know, to be able to provide better services that keep up with these private education systems, then yes, we need to look at that and ensure that we are being sustainable in you know, the income coming into the UW system.
The state just created a $100 million fund for school safety programs. Is that enough, or do we need to change gun laws?
We do not need to change gun laws. I would be in favor of continuing to provide, but I think it's a lot about education. And again, when you know, you are putting that decision back into the local communities, the local school boards are going to make the decision that is best for that community in that situation. I think trying to apply a one-size-fits-all fix to each and every single school district out there is not going to work.
On your website, you say that you're not a career politician. So my question is, would you only serve X number of terms if you're elected? Do you believe in term limits?
I do not believe in term limits. I would maintain my full-time position, and I would serve part-time in the legislature. I think that is an opportunity for our state. We are one of 10 states to have a listed full-time state legislature. I think that we can reduce the amount of time and importance that we are putting on the representatives that are going to Madison. I think that I represent my neighbors by holding down a full-time position in my community and then serving part-time in Madison.
If legislators were part-time, should they not get their current salary of $50,900?
They would definitely need to have that reduced. I think that personally, since I know that it's going to be a slow movement process, I would take a portion of that salary and I would continue to give it back to my community to reflect what a true wage would be for a part-time representative, and the remaining wages would go back into the community organization groups.
The proposals that would legalize recreational and medical marijuana, your positions?
Again, it's It's a topic that we have to be very careful about. If you look at some states, they're already starting to see some health issues with it. But again, I think there is potential to treat it similar to alcohol, where we can tax it and regulate it. We also have seen that there's medical benefits to marijuana, as you can't find that when you look at alcohol. So I think there's the discussion needs to continue, but I think that there are small steps that we can take as far as decriminalization to lessen the impact and not necessarily full out recreational legalization, but I think medicinal would be on the table for me at this point.
Then differences between you and the incumbent that you're up against on November 6th?
Yes, Mr. Barca has been serving as a politician essentially his whole life. He's served in Madison, went to Washington, and now he's back in Madison. I feel like he's out of touch with many of the constituents now that are voting, and that's why I'm running. Talking with my neighbors, getting out there and starting to see that the decisions that are being made aren't truly being representative of our community, and that needs to change.
Thomas Harland of Kenosha is the Constitution Party candidate in the 64th Assembly District. Thank you for talking to WisconsinEye.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Campaign 2018 is sponsored by Wisconsin Hospital Association, Wisconsin Counties Association, Wisconsin Realtors Association, Marshfield Clinic Health System, AARP Wisconsin, and Campaign 2018 partner Milwaukee Journal Sentinel.